Okay, good morning, everybody. Can you hear? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Okay, welcome to the call. Good morning. Um, anyway, excited, but sometimes jealous that I'm not in Cabo right now. Many people are flying there. Some people already left. Some people are just flying today. Some people are already there. I think we have a couple of people that have been there since Tuesday. But anyway, anybody would like to share this morning? Any win, anything that you want to change? Share. My tongue is getting twisted. Uh, Go ahead and good morning. Okay, all right. I guess. Okay, this morning, I don't think we are going to have tons of people because we have at least 20 or 30 people that are in this call usually that they are not going to be here because I'm traveling. Although we are going to have more people coming in a few seconds. All right, this morning I'm going to cover something very simple, and is setting goals. Hold on a second because there's something weird here on my screen. Let me move this. Okay, it was in my face. All right. Okay. All right. One of the things that I want to make sure we are right now, we are on October 9th, that we have November, December. We have about, I would say about 50, 60 days, like 72 days or 80 days basically for Christmas. Now, right now is a great time to connect with people before the holidays, especially before Christmas. Um, and the reason is because you are planting the seeds for next week, also how you finish the year. But for that, it's so important that we set up the goals of what we are going to do, how we are going to do it, what kind of results we want to apply. One of the things that I like to do always is in these last 2 months is set up a plan for the holidays. But before we do that, let's set up a goal because goal setting is so important. We always talk about the importance of goal setting. And now I know many of us have goals, but most of the time they are in our mind, they are not in writing. And or if we have in writing, we are not continuing doing every day the different things that we need in order to reach our goals. The oldest goal program that I know of that is popular or has been popular for years, one of the old ones was Think and Grow Rich. It was written by Napoleon Hill in the around the in the 30s, late 30s. It was a book that made a huge change already in the late 30s because was the country was coming out of the depression, and Napoleon Hill actually was a friend with Roosevelt, and he is the one that wrote "There's no worse fear than fear itself." He was the one that wrote that, not Roosevelt. He gave it to because he reviewed the uh, the talk that the president was going to be doing, and that was part of it. And the reason because he knew there has to be a change of conscience, a change of mindset in order to make the changes. Because the depression was very bad. I mean, many of us went through the recession or follows us 2008, and that's not even comparable with what happened in the recession. And Napoleon Hill already he wrote that, but before that he already was reading many manuscripts. As a matter of fact, I've been a follower of him for years. I read many of his writings. I just discovered one of his books that I was reading, one of his books that never published actually, and I've been going through it. That was very interesting. It's like a precursor to the Think and Grow Rich. But one of the things that he went through the people, most famous people of the time, and uh, uh, he interviewed all of them. And this one was because he wanted to work for Andrew Carnegie, that was the richest guy or one of the richest guys in the world at the time. He was Scottish, had come to the U.S. and had become super wealthy, and he wanted to share a story. And then he talked to Napoleon Hill, and he asked him to he say, "What if?" I tell you to do blank, interview all these people, etc. And he was not going to expect income or anything like that. Just interview and create a manuscript. Now, Napoleon Hill, he was a journalist, and he was super excited. He wanted to know more about that, and as he started writing, he agreed. And then, because Andrew Carnegie knew everybody, imagine, was one of the richest guys in the planet, and at the time that he was commissioned to that, and he started interviewing all those people. Meanwhile, also at the same time, he was reading different scripts, like this. Charles Hanel and many other people at the time that were very Waddles, etc. And then he started reading them. As a matter of fact, he was inspired after doing the interviews, not only to publish the interviews, but create a book with all the knowledge. And it's interesting because although the book may be updated on dates and some numbers, etc., from the point of view of goal setting, is an incredible up-to-date book. As a matter of fact, it's having a resurgence. The sales of this book have going up in the last 3 years. And I don't think it's a coincidence. People want to make changes. They want to they want to improve their life. And today I'm going to talk about the chapter on the goal setting. And we talked about that before. I like to do it actually at least 2 or 3 times a year, because to remind them, not only of you guys, but me, myself, of the importance of setting goals. And goals are so important. Interesting I think it was in the late 50s when they did with a group in one of the biggest colleges. I don't remember, it was Harvard or something like that. And then they follow all the graduates from a class. And after, I think, was 30 years, they found out that only about 2% of them were independent, financially independent, and that was a 2% that that's what started in college. The ones that were setting the goals, were creating plans, and weren't writing. Now, and that's the interesting. That's the people that reached their highest goals in all that group. And it was only about 2 or 3% of the group. Okay, let me share the screen. Hold on, I'll be right back in a second. Let me share my screen. And we're going to be talking more about this in the following weeks, because it's a topic that I love, actually. All right, yeah, we have here Napoleon Hill. Oops. Wrapping. Okay, hold on a second. Share. All right, there it is. Okay. That's this book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Some background that I want to do also about the book. This book was given to me when I was probably like 19 years old. At the time I was going to college, maybe it was 20 years old. And this was given to me by a guy that I didn't know very well. And how did I meet this guy? Well, a friend of mine, we were walking on the street. We were working part-time selling books. Also, we were going to college. And this guy stopped. He was driving a Camaro. And the guy stopped, and we were tied. We tied and everything walking. The guy stopped and said, "Hey, have you ever thought of making a lot of money?" And then what came out of my mouth was fun. It was a joke, of course. I said, "Who do we have to kill?" I said, "No, no, no, this is serious." And the guy thought I probably was serious. And then he asked for our phone numbers, and at the time we didn't have cell phones or anything like that. And then he said, "I'm gonna call you because I want to present to you an opportunity that you can make a lot of money." That sounds familiar. That was the first time that I was ever approached with network marketing. When I was about, maybe I was 20. I was 20 years old. And my friend and I gave the telephone number, and then I kind of forgot about it. I got a call to my home a couple of days later, and the guy invited us to a big event that was happening. And then he said, the same, he called my friend too. Of course, I was going to college. I was still with my parents. And I told my dad, and my dad said, nope, you're not going anywhere. Who knows if the guy probably could be a kidnapper or something like that. Da, da, da. It's interesting because my friend father said the same thing. Said, you can't go. And I say, oh, but dad, but that says, no, you're not going. And then like Saturday morning, that was when the meeting was going to be. My dad woke me up and said, okay, get ready. You are going. I said, going what? And then when I get dressed right away, you are going to that place. Why? You say no, you are going. And then when I got up, my friend was there waiting for me with the guy that met us and then took us to the meeting. That was the first time that I ever saw network marketing. Interesting that that company eventually disappeared, etc. And then I never saw network marketing again until right, gosh, 20 years later. But that was the beginning. Well, that guy gave me this book, Think and Grow Rich. And that was the first time I was obsessed with the book. And of course, that company disappeared eventually, and it was started by a guy called Glenn Turner. And for those of you probably remember, this company became the reason many of the laws of network marketing were creating, and they were used them as a scapegoat first. But anyway, and the company was called yeah, Dare to be Great. Dare to be Great. And anyway, it started by a guy called Glenn Turner. But anyway, another day I will tell the whole story because it's really cool. It's really cool, interesting. Now, he gave me this book, and he said that in the no, he said no in the book at the beginning. Napoleon Hill said there is a secret somewhere that is in the book that when you understand it, you are going to be super wealthy. And by the way, the secret I'm going to tell you is simple. It's very simple. Basically, things are thoughts, and when you believe are reality, I things. No, things are thoughts. Excuse me, are things that become a reality. That's basically the basic of the story. But there are different methods to become wealthy, etc. But the one that is the probably the heart of the whole thing is the 6-step process. Now, the first one, fix in your mind, and this is from the book. Fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money. In other words, you have to be exactly what you want. Now, I have something that I learned with the years, and I'm going to show you in a second. But first, you do it in present tense, and you add or more. In other words, I am earning $10,000 or more. Why or more? Because you don't want to limit yourself. Now, this is not in the book, this part or more, and the Think and Grow Rich. This is something I learned later, and I add. But again, how much money you want to earn? $10,000 a month, $5,000 a month, or how much? Now, make sure that the number that you are using is beyond your comfort zone. I'm going to do in the future another one that is going to go deeper into this, but this is very simple, very important. Earn $10,000 or more by, and I'm going to tell you in a second, I earn $10,000 or more. The second one is determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. There's no such reality as something for nothing. For example, how many hours you are going to put a week, because we have the vehicle. That's the cool thing. In the book of Think and Grow Rich, you don't have a vehicle yet. But here, how many hours a week are you going to invest some money? And when I say invest money, books and the tools that we need, etc., what events are you going to attend? How many people are you going to connect? This is, again, you have to determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. At the beginning, when I did this, I really didn't know much because I mean, I still was going to college. But at the time, when this company started, by the way, the sad part is that was my first experience, but was last only like a couple of months. But anyway, but these are the second part. The third part, establish a definite date which you intend to possess the money you desire. Make sure, by the way, okay.
Someone will look at your, in the first place, they look at your face, and then they scan you.
Okay. All right. Okay, one of you is not listening. Okay. Again, the third one. Oops. Okay. Set a date or before. For example, I earn $10,000 per month or more by December 10, 2025 or before. In other words, you say or before. Why? Because again, the same thing that with the money, you don't want to limit yourself to $10,000 per month. You say or more. You don't want to set up just a date, and you can say or before. The reason is because you don't want to limit yourself. And this, by the way, if you say why I'm saying or more or before, because this is a way that you don't limit your potential. Because we really always, it doesn't matter how much you have accomplished, we are selling ourselves down in our potential. We can do way more than we think. Now, the four is create a plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not to put this plan into action. In our case, and this, how many new prospects I will add to my list, how many people I will connect per day, how many times I will have my prospects in a presentation, how many three-way calls, how many follow-up calls. In other words, you set up a plan and start right away. Not to set up the plan and say, I start in a month. No. Especially now, this is a great time to start. And the number five, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. We already did that, but we are going to put everything in one statement. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate. And you are going to write it. And then I'm earning $10,000 or more by December 11, 2025 or before. I dedicate to my business 10 hours a week or better. I'm connecting with X amount of people or more every day. I am presenting X amount of people or more per week. In other words, you set up a plan. Doesn't have to be too long, because if you write it too long, too many pages of plan, you're not going to do it. Just put it small that you can put it on a card. And I'm going to show you in a second how. But anyway, this is the plan. The sixth one, the last one, there's 6 steps. Read your written statement aloud twice a day, once just before retiring at night and once after arising in the morning. By the way, I copy all this from the book. I'm using word by word of the book. As you read, see, and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. Now, you can use this for everything, but we are talking about money in this case. In this case, and this is important again. As you read, see, and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. Now let's put it together. Now this is a goal card. This is Bob Proctor created this goal card. He learned about this book, Think and Grow Rich, when he was working as a fireman, and he was broke. He was in debt. And when he read it, he was so excited, and he created a goal, and he put it on a small card in his pocket. And he said, I'm happy and grateful now that, and start with that. My goal by the date, I'm so happy and grateful now that. And here is an example of what we would do. My goal by December 12th or before 2025. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am earning $10,000 or more every month. I'm connecting with 20 or more people per week. I'm presenting to 5 people a week or more. I'm enjoying with my family our dream vacation. I'm enjoying our new home by the hills, or whatever you want to say. This is, let me get out of here first. As you see, there's a continuation. I have a whole workshop that about goal setting, but as you see, it's very simple, but at the same time, it works. And because we are reading that goal all the time, at least twice a day, like he said, Napoleon Hill read in book, before you go to bed, just after wake up. And actually, you can read it many times. You can even record it on your own voice on your phone, and you repeat your goal consistently. This is a tool that has worked for many people, worked for me, worked for many people. I have so many goals that I set up, and of course, you combine with visualizing the goal that you want, because not only repeating, but you can visualize that. Oh, one more thing that's so important. As a matter of fact, let me see if I have it in this slide. I think I do. Okay, let's go. Okay, yeah, I'm going to put it in a slide. I can tell you, but I'm going to share in the slide. All right, be grateful. Let me tell you one thing first. I heard many times when I'm during in the morning call that some people still have not mute the microphone, and I heard that you are watching or listening to the news. That is not good because it's going to start doubting what is happening around you. It's going to be because then you are not listening to the great news. Oh, somebody saved somebody or somebody achieved something. No, that's not what you hear in CNN or Fox News. Doesn't matter what news it is. I know some people say, yeah, but they are more right than the other one. Doesn't matter who's more right than the other one. They are not good news. And when you wake up in the morning, instead reading your goal, what do you think you are putting in your mind? How bad things are going around you? Doesn't matter if you are watching a podcast, anything that has, unless it's a positive podcast. That's not the first thing that you want to put in your mind in the morning. Read your goals. Read something inspirational. Could be the scriptures. Listen to something inspirational. The same before you go to bed. Because imagine you go to bed after watching the news, how bad things are going around you. And you say, oh, everything's terrible because you don't have control on anything that is out around you. But you know what? You have control in the way that you are going to react to that by blocking it. What can you do about the news? Whatever big thing that's going to happen, you're going to find out anyway. And when you're watching your news, or anything that's negative, guess what? You don't feel grateful for anything. If we are not grateful for what we have, we could lose it. If we're not grateful for the potential that we have, we cannot reach our goals. Now, this is very important. This is a very important technique. When you are grateful, you enter in a state of receiving. Therefore, you will see more opportunities. If you complain or are negative, you close your mind to opportunities because what you see is dark. Oops, Spanish. I don't know. Okay, now starting. All right. It's not going to stop. Don't tell me to stop. Okay. A state of gratefulness creates attraction to the good things. And write about 10 things you're grateful daily. Not to write it today and you read the same things tomorrow, etc. You write it consistently. Read them at least twice during the day. The same that you're setting the goals, why you are grateful for. Even when something's happening that day that was not really cool, or put you in a state of kind of negative, just write the things or read the things that you wrote that day that you are grateful for. Like I say, when you feel down, read them and combine it with your declaration. That's the declaration of your goals, reading your goals. I know I know some people when I said, okay, make sure you don't watch the news, some of them get upset with me. If I don't know what is going around me, I don't know what to do. Well, if you are not reading your goals as first thing, if you are not praying in the morning and in the evening, not for the things that you don't have and say, oh, this is terrible, the world, how can, no, for your goals, how you can help other people to become better. Everything starts with us. We are the center of our own universe, but start with us. Remember the famous saying that in the plane, when you're in the plane, they tell you to first put the mask on you. You have to develop yourself to help others to become better too. You have to help yourself too, because you want to be a light. Also, you want to be a light to others too. And by the way, they tell us that in many places. That we have to lie to other people. And that's why it's so important when we are setting a goal, first of all, read it every day, etc. And avoid, and I'm not telling not to do it because you can do whatever you want, but it's to see what happens when you have they call it a news fast, that you don't have the news. Anthony Robbins talked about, and also Dr. Deepak Chopra, I don't know if they are talking about the same study, but why, how they took a group of people and then they just bombarded them, and they was volunteers. That was a test that was done. And one of the things that they did is just to keep them the whole day talking about great things, everything, how everything was great, and having great music and having positive stuff, etc. Many of the people that were in that, some of them were even in certain medications. And by the end of the study, I don't remember for how long went, they were lower the medication or didn't have to use any medications at all. These are people that were sometimes in depression, etc. But that was, by the study, by the way, was not for them to see what happened with the medication. It was with a group of people, a very large group of people, and some of them were on medication for antidepressant, etc. And when they were just absorbing to positive stuff, positive people, setting up goals, activities, things start improving. People start looking younger, etc. And this sound sometimes a little science fiction, but that's the case. That's the truth. Today, because we are bombarded for all kind of social media, the news, and there are so many ways that we're bombarded. I mean, when for many of us, when we were kids, life was much simpler. We didn't have so many ways that we were bombarded. When we were kids, we were playing outside. Well, no, there were no video games or anything like that. And even when we were growing up, that's true, there were news, but there were only 4 or 5 TV channels. And the news, and of course there was the newspaper, but it was not the same. Now we are bombarded for a lot of negative stuff, and at the time we could choose what we could read because there were positive books, there was the inspiring, etc. books, but also you could be focusing on the bad news in the newspaper. Today is the same thing. Where are we going to focus? Where your focus goes, your energy flows. And I add one more thing, and the results show. The results show. Because that's a fact. We are absorbing negative stuff. We are going to focus in the wrong thing. And then that's when I said, or many of us say, and one of them, when we are focusing on those things, for some reason we don't have time to do the things that we're supposed to do because our mind is spread out all over the place. And we are not focusing. We are here to change the world, one person at the time. And I know that sounds like, oh, but that's too big. Right now we are 35 people. We could be more, but many of them are, like I said, traveling. But 35 people. What kind of influence we can have? Imagine that. It's not only the business side, yeah, we are making money. It's not only the product side, yeah, we are helping people, but it's the way that we are changing. Because when people start being more productive, receiving more time freedom, etc., they become more positive and they influence a bunch of people. And when in a bunch of people, one person can influence thousands upon thousands upon thousands. Imagine the influence that we can have. 35 that are here, we can influence thousands of people. But it's very important today is set up your goals. Make sure you follow every day. Every day you read your goal and do an action every day, or actions that get you next to the goal. And the actions are very simple. This business is so darn simple. When I started my first business many years ago, it was so complex. I first started in sales. That taught me to be more independent. It's funny because I went to school, I graduated, I got my degree in computers and business, and I gave the diploma to my mom, and I went to sell real estate. I almost was killed instantly. I'm lucky that I'm here with you guys. My mom got so upset. And then I started growing from that point, and eventually I had my own business. You know the story. One of them, I was manufacturing perfume, and I thought it's gonna be big. I partnered with one of my friends. He was an engineer and a chemist too. We have some. I have to say the idea was amazing. We partnered with a third person that was a friend of mine that he was doing packaging for companies, and we created packaging for the products and looked so pretty. and then we have a fourth person that was a sales trainer that helped us to train the people. We didn't know much about network marketing because my experience in network marketing was so short that if I had known more, probably I would have had a company, network marketing company with perfumes. I don't know. But and we exploded, but we run out of money. We were paying with our credit cards, collecting money to pay our employees. The commission was easy because something was sold, we get power right away. Uh, and then eventually run out of money because we were too new. I think I was maybe 23 or 24, I don't remember. And the oldest person in our team was 26. We were little kids. And we have at one point a nice sales force. But anyway, but we keep going. I mean, that crash, etc. I came to the. I was hired by this company, and that's when I came to the U.S., etc. And but anyway, because I went back into real estate, and then we're selling projects and investments for people in South America. And then when they say, okay, I was flying every week. Oh, gee, that was. And then finally say, you know what, it's easy for us that you stay here, and then you receive the investors, and that's when they already had an office in Florida at the time. But then I moved to the city where they had the Florida office. I was only like 10 minutes walking or something like that. It was really cool. Got great experience, but one day the company disappeared. But anyway, but I kept doing business. I kept doing because I wanted the dream was to create a better thing. And when I discovered network marketing, I discovered the perfect business because it's so simple to start. You don't need a lot of money. Um, the main expense is your time. That's the cool thing. Okay, anybody has a comment before we go?